And it is Town Hall number 72, without prompting, I remembered. And in this very exciting episode, we're going to be handing over to Luke and Martin at Siteglide, who've been working tirelessly, doing a lot of client builds, but importantly, building out the functionality of the Siteglide technology, all of their modules, working with the platformOS team on API endpoints to automate a lot of things. And it's been very exciting. Very quick year, hasn't it, Luke?
Yeah, it has. It's been a pretty crazy year, but really exciting and a lot going on. So yeah, thanks for inviting us on again. Nice to get another one in before the end of the year. And what I thought we'd do is we'd give a bit of a roundup of how the year's gone and have a look ahead to next year. So I'll just share my screen. Can everyone see that? Hopefully we're good. Cool.
Yep, perfect.
Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Yeah. So yeah, hello everybody. Hopefully you know me by now, but yeah, what we're going to do is we're just going to jump in and have a look at 2019. So where we're up to, what we've been doing, and also some of the highlights. Then we're going to have a look ahead to 2020, and there's sort of three things that I'd really like to focus on. We've sort of been reviewing everything. It's all been very busy building things, but we really want to focus more on helping partners get on board. So assisted onboarding, some tools and some things that we can do to make that much easier. And we're going through some of those. Then looking at BC features, comparing to sort of where we are compared to the BC feature set, and making sure that the migrations are really easy to do and as easy as possible, and we match the features so that especially the more complex sites, I think that's where we can really help. Is anything that's a little bit tricky on BC, we've hopefully gone above and beyond on that and created some simplifications, improvements, and some newer ways of doing things as well, which we'll take a look at, but also really how you can migrate sites across. And then finally, just recapping on some of the things we've been up to and some of our kind of core focus and the things that we believe in. So we'll jump into those. Obviously, a key part of that is platformOS being the core and the engine behind that, and the fact that you can tap into that, which is quite unique. And then just having a quick look at a couple of examples if we've got time, just to show what can be done, what has been done by partners in this year, really. Yeah. So jump across, just having a look at 2019. Back in, I don't know when that was, May time, I think. We were accepted as a Adobe recommended partner for BC migrations. So working closely with them, obviously went through the due diligence and shown that we were a suitable platform to migrate to for partners. And we'll actually be doing a webinar very soon to show that and show how Siteglide is a very suitable replacement, especially for the more complex elements from BC. We also became approved supplier for WSI. If you saw the town hall probably a couple ago, actually, when we looked at the convention we went to in Cancun, and we sponsored that as silver sponsors. But we partnered with WSI back in about September time. Been working on that for 8 or 9 months, and they're a big, I think the world's largest network of web consultants, agencies, and we've partnered with them to be able to offer Siteglide to those partners. And some of those partners have BC sites and want to move them across, but then it's also an opportunity to look at new sites and partners that haven't used BC before. We've probably got a few of those partners on tonight, or we'll be watching, I'm sure. And then seen some pretty big sites, quite a few different types of sites actually, but also some big sites come across from BC. One partner believes it might be the largest site on BC. is definitely up there. It's a pretty big one. We'll have a look at that again, a new feature that they've been working on. And then we've been obviously working through the different features. We've been working on things that are unique to us and that we think are a bit different and more applicable in going into 2020. But we've also been making sure we've got the core functionality there. So CMS, CRM, email marketing, web apps, e-commerce, those kind of things. So looking at the things we do have in place before moving on to what's left. And also just to say, we've got a growing global community. We've got partners collaborating across 5 continents, soon to be 6 hopefully. And yeah, it's just great to see everybody engaging and getting involved and building sites. So it's been a really exciting, fast-paced year from our perspective. Hopefully it has for everybody else. And we're really, really looking forward to going into 2020. So I think I'll move on quickly because I've got a few things to cover. I'm going to have a look at, sorry, I think that has jumped on a little bit, just 1 second. Okay, so the first one that I was going to have a look at, if we just go back to here quickly, really want to focus on where we need to look at next for helping partners get on board. So one of the biggest things that we've noticed is, as with any system, learning it, understanding all the different features, changes, similarities to BC, but differences perhaps. So what we've actually done just a few days ago is put in place a welcome page, so that when you sign up and when you log in every time to Siteglide, you get a home screen that's just going to be familiar. It's going to help you with any of the new features that are coming out, some walkthroughs, and link to resources. So we'll go off and have a look at that in a second. I'm just going to walk through these main points and we'll go and have a look at everything. Something else we've been focusing on the last few weeks is dynamic documentation. So we've moved our docs and made them more accessible, and so that they come up based on questions and they're recommended at the right time. We'll look at that again in a second. We've also implemented an interactive roadmap. We've had incredible feedback on that already. It's really good to see people getting involved in the roadmap, voting on things, suggesting new things. So I'll show you that. And then just yesterday, we launched our new community forum. We noticed that we needed something for people to really discuss and ask questions and get help and grow the community further. Now we're getting, obviously, people across the globe and wanting to build more complex sites or get started, people at different levels on Siteglide. And then finally, we've also been looking at making sure we put in place enough ongoing interactive learning. So we will be running webinars from the start of the new year. We've got tutorials as part of the new docs site that are coming out to help you. They will work off our new starter site feature, which I'll recap on as well, so that it'll be familiar. There's a standard way of doing things, and we'll keep building on top of that. So starter site becomes your kind of way to build best practice on top of Siteglide, and along with that is certification. So as you sort of go through those steps, becoming certified and being able to do those things. So that's a big area for us next year that we want to jump into. So just gonna have a look at a few of those points. If I go across here, if anybody's logged in the last few days, they will have seen this. So now when you log in, you'll get to the welcome screen. And the first thing you'll notice is the sort of four getting started steps. We've put this together. They'll keep getting updated. There'll be more and more things that you can do from here. But very soon there'll be a bit of a welcome video to sort of explain the basics and get started. And then we've got some something called product tours that we have as part of Intercom. So we can quickly interactively show you how to get started on things. So if we just click your portal one, that will open up a new tab of the admin, and it will start walking you through how to do certain steps. So this is an introduction for the portal, a little bit about it, and then show you the main kind of things that you can do. So explain the clients area, the sites, We have had some questions on the setup of sites and clients, and without something like this and documentation, it can be a bit confusing. So hopefully this is a great way of quickly getting started and sort of refreshing, if not. Just run through a couple of others. There's the client area that I mentioned. I think create a site's a good one to quickly show. As I said, we'll be making more and more of these as we go for each area of Siteglide, so that if you're new to it, it'll help you get started, but you can also go back to them at any time and work through them. So this is going to show how to build a site. This would assume that you've got one of your clients set up. So it's saying this is actually building a site against your agency. So that is a difference that we've been talking about to a few partners and realized we needed to put something like this together. Show you the users tab. You click through to the sites tab, and then it would show you how to build a site. So these product tours are just great sort of quick walkthroughs that actually help you build the site. And then when you're ready, you just click create site. You can always click out of them at any time as well. So hopefully that's a good way to get more information in a more interactive way and learn about the platform. There's also a section on resources. So as I mentioned, we've moved our docs across to Intercom. So there's a sort of nicer, more searchable docs site where we're really going to expand this out through a few different types. So there'll be sort of getting started tutorials. There'll be detailed docs on specific areas. And then in some, you should start to see things like FAQs. There'll be some very sort of quick question and answer posts as well, which Martin and Matt are working on and expanding out. And that's obviously an ongoing thing, but one great thing about that is that from the portal, they will start to be served automatically via Intercom. So when you're discussing something here, asking a question, it can serve those articles. You can also search for them as well. So if you were to search for an article, you can go through that and find the different ones. So it's far more dynamic and in context. We've also put our release notes there, and we'll make sure these are up in good time so you can read through any of the releases. They're typically on a Tuesday weekly, so you'll see that we're sort of transferring them across at the moment, but you'll see the weekly releases launched here. You'll be able to go through and read all the different updates. Just flicking back to here quickly. So yeah, cover the docs. The next one to have a look at was the interactive roadmap. So from here, you're able to click this button. We've done single sign-on to our roadmap tool. So if you click through to that, it'll automatically log you in as your user. And you'll see our roadmap of planned, in progress, and complete. But also you can jump into the feature requests and look at what we're working on this quarter, next quarter, in the future. You can vote on things, you can comment, and you can suggest new ones as well. Also got that in place for bugs. It's a great way to quickly report these. So we do recommend that sort of coming here as a first port of call if you know you've got a feature request, a bug report, or if you want actually checking if something is already in here. It'd be very helpful just to have a look, find the one that you want, just search for it. Let's say it was import. You'd search for that, see that that one's actually in progress, it's actually in beta, and then you could either go off and use that, or you could ask some questions. So definitely recommend starting here. Obviously asking an intercom is fine, but you're going to get a quicker response if the information's already here. The next one to mention we actually launched yesterday, so this is very new, but as I mentioned, it's a really important one for partners to be able to discuss and grow the community so that people can help each other. We will respond in there, we'll put updates in there. It'll be a much better way of keeping up to date on everything. Again, that's got single sign-on, so if you click through from here, if you've not been there at all before, it will get you set up with your new user. You can get your profile set up, uploading a photo. And then just look through. It's a fairly sort of standard forum setup, but there's some quite nice things about it that we'll have a quick look at. I've created one just for everyone to sort of say hi and to meet. So maybe just put up a quick profile, quick sort of introduction there as to about your agency. And obviously any of your team members that have a login to Siteglide from here, if they click through, they'll have their own account. So yeah, I recommend looking in here. You can search, you can find different groups that you might want to join, developers, designers and marketers perhaps, and also topics. So we've grouped everything by types. You can give us feedback on certain features, you can ask questions, and sort of various things in here. So answering questions about certain functionality, there'll be updates, and quite a bit more. There's also something called reputation, which is quite nice. So I think as this grows, the more sort of active people will sort of be recognised for that. So I think it's quite a nice way of a bit of gamification there. Yeah, so I think those are the main things on community. Adam, was anything from you? You look like you wanted to. Nope.
I'm just impressed. I'm enjoying it.
Good. Thanks. Yeah, so really encourage people to take a look at both of those. I think the only tricky thing about having two is trying to separate and understand what's used for what. If you can sort of look here for the actual roadmap, feature requests and bugs and put those in, it's very easy to use. It's perfect for roadmap, and a forum is not a great place to manage that. So that's why we've kept the two very separate. You can search for what you want. You can even actually, when you start to write a new one, if you were to start writing, it will look for similar posts. So it just saves duplication. It should mean that everything is stored here. I'll come on to why that's so important in a minute, because if we're going to get the product right, it's all about community involvement and feedback. And then using the forum more for questions, issues, ideas, helping other partners, whatever it might be. BC, I think many people have said over the last 18 months that one of the best things about BC was the community. And I think this meeting, the platformOS group and all the different discussions you see on Facebook prove that, really, the fact that people come together and help each other and solve things. So we really hope that this is a positive approach. It's something we'd like to have done a bit sooner, really. So yeah, definitely get started, have a look at that. And as I say, just going to that welcome page, you should find that everything is here now. If you come here first, you should find the links that you need. There is intercom. If there's something perhaps more sensitive or a billing question or something like that, that's probably a better place to go and start a direct conversation with us. But we would encourage people to try those two first, as well as the docs. Right. I think that covers that. There are some tutorials in the docs and have a look at, but we'll be talking more about the webinars and the certification in the new year. Any questions as we get to the end of that one, or maybe do them at the end?
Anybody can use the chat in the meantime. Just pop a question in there. Just use the little chat icon at the bottom of your Zoom view, so you can post them up and make sure you don't forget to have them answered by the end of the session. But none so far, Luke. Everyone's just enjoying the walkthrough.
Good, cool. Yeah, so the next one I wanted to focus on was features. Looking at where we are with the current features, how it compares to BC, and how we make that more interactive in terms of the next steps. There's some work to do still, but working with partners to really understand the more urgent requirements and getting those in place is what we would really want to focus on. So firstly, I believe we've got the sort of core main sort of product features from BC in place to some extent. So obviously CMS, the CRM, there's some big enhancements there actually over the BC one, which I'll have a look at shortly. eCommerce is in beta and there's some final features on that I'll show you in just a second. Email marketing as well in beta, and then web apps is something we've had for a long time, and that's quite powerful now. So the main kind of high level stuff is there, but it's talking about the next steps, like what enhancements need to be made and what missing key BC functionality do we need to look at, as well as maybe non-BC, some of the things that would be really, really useful to you to help migrate sites or build new sites. The next one we'll have a look at very quickly is the Q4 roadmap. So we've actually got, it's a great way to show off the new roadmap tool, but it'll actually give you some insight into what we've still got left to complete this month, and give you an idea of how we update you on that. The next one would be getting all the different ideas and listing all the different feature requests and looking at the Q1 2020 roadmap so that you've got a really good idea of what we're going to work on next, and see live updates, see votes, be able to ask questions. And we do put sneak peeks as well in there, maybe some screenshots or updates on how we're getting on with those. So we'll go off and have a look at that. And finally is BC migrations themselves. So making that whole process easier. We don't believe there is a one-click import in reality. It's likely to bring in bad code, and trying to bring something quite old from one platform into a completely different platform, in our opinion, is not the right way to go. But there are lots of things we can do about that to make it easier, tutorials, but also some clever tools. So you've probably seen by now our web app import tool that takes all of your web apps from a BC export zip file, imports them, hooks them up with data sources, categories, all that kind of thing. That can save huge amounts of time. And we'll just look at doing more and more of that in terms of import and export of data and working with that BC exporter file and export. And on that one, I'd like to announce, having worked with CRM and Joe, been great discussing with those guys, and we've come up with a way that we're going to offer a free credit to every partner that puts a site live. Every time you put a site live on Siteglide, you get an extra free credit for BC Exporter. You know, $49 each, I believe. So that should help a little bit, at least in terms of making that process simpler. And as I say, we'll do more and more to make it possible to copy more and more data across. And that's another great use of the roadmap and the community, is let us know what you need, upvote it, and we'll obviously work on the most important things and the most voted things. But we really do want to help make migration simpler and more cost effective, I guess, if client budget is relevant. But we do think there's a good opportunity to improve as well. So taking an existing site, looking at where Siteglide can actually make it better, having that discussion with the client, and potentially using some of the new features, which we'll come on to shortly. So just having a look at some of these very, very quickly, just check the time. The Q4 roadmap, just a good example and way we can have a look at this new sort of tool. If we just go to roadmap, in fact, the best way to do this, I'll just go off to the community so that you can find that just from the admin. From the admin, you click community forum, takes you off to here. And actually at the top of there, we have the current roadmap. So if you just click that one, it'll take you off to here. We might update that link. So this one here, so it goes directly to that one, actually. That might be better for people. So if we just go here, that will show you the items still left to do in this quarter. Now, most of these are progressing really, really well. And you'll just see more and more updates in here from us on those. So very quickly running through them, being able to put your agency logo in and replace the Siteglide logo top left. That's been a highly requested one, so that is happening, and it's I believe a few days away, but don't want to say too much. You can go into those and see what we're discussing and saying you would be able to do, and you'll see some updates as well from us and the different people that have voted on it. Then DNS. So obviously, when you want to go live, you want to be able to control the domain and all the DNS settings. So that is very, very close. We are working with platformOS guys to make sure that all the changes that they've done recently to put in place that new sort of awesome DNS setup is fully available from the Siteglide side of things, and you can manage everything that you need to do. Again, it's highly voted, so we focused on it, and we're very, very close. I won't go through the full list, but I think you can get a feel for it after this town hall or anytime. Just come over to here, have a vote, vote on the ones that are really important to you, comment on them, and you'll get a feel for where we are. But there's quite a lot of really important things that we know we're high up on people's list, that we're very, very close to launching. Things like imports have been a big one. Billing, we've done client billing already, but having agency billing so that you guys can pay us directly and then charge your clients separately, that's in the works. And yeah, some of the sort of core e-commerce features. Yeah, so that covers the current roadmap. Then by using this, we're going to go through all the different recommendations from people for planning out Q2. So currently looking at, just go back into that, we do have a next quarter one, and you can see what's in there. There's some quite nice ones that I know a lot of people are looking for. So things like front-end submitted web apps where you can edit them and you can say who owns them. So that creates so many possibilities for front-end portals and tools like that. Enhancements to Visual Editor, but we will be going through the full list of suggestions and mapping out the roadmap. But we don't just want to do that based on what we want. We want to go through it based on votes, and that's where the forum comes in as well, actually. So we've been discussing some of these ideas with some partners and getting a really good idea of what people want. But I'd strongly recommend coming across to here, adding in specific features or voting on them, and then if you've got any discussion points, coming over to the forum and chatting about those. Just gonna have a quick look at the chat, see if there's anything. Okay for those. So that covers planning out the Q1 roadmap. I just, yeah, make sure that you have a look at the roadmap tool and let us know what you need, because we can only go based on the information we have, and there's still there's not that many features left that we've had lots of feedback on that are important. So do let us know, and we'll make sure we plan them out and try and get as much done as we can in Q1. There are a couple of features that we'd like to focus on that we believe are sort of better than BC, and have some nice enhancements that we'll just have a quick look at. So under the CMS specifically, we've got Visual Editor. There are improvements on that which are in the roadmap, where you'll be able to manage images far better and it'll be far more interactive. But already that is more of a tool to edit content rather than break code. And that's something we were quite specific on from the beginning. We wanted to make something that was really easy for clients to edit. Things like updating forms. I'm sure everyone remembers on BC, if you wanted to make a quick change, you have to then go through and update the whole layout. And if you've got any custom code, that can be a bit of a nightmare. We've made that quite a bit simpler, hopefully, and had some really good feedback on that. Then things like categories. Again, there's still much more we can do with all of these features, but there's some big enhancements there. They're shared across everything. So you can use categories across e-commerce, web apps, modules. That then allows some really powerful things later when maybe sending out an email campaign where you pull in the latest product, blog post, and module item from a specific category that a customer's been tagged to, for example. Talking about CRM, custom field sets, if you haven't used that, really recommend having a look at it. That is like web apps for CRM. It's custom extension of the CRM in group. So you can create the fields that you need and you can add that to the CRM and to forms, so that you can capture different data for different users and do quite a bit more with it. You can also import and export that data as well with our new tool that's in beta. So definitely have a look at that if CRM is relevant. Modules, our whole concept is around building blocks and taking the web app database concept and expanding on it. Modules run off that, and there's so many different ideas and module opportunities there. Events is a big one that we're on now, but one good example that's live is a far more powerful blog. It's got quite a bit more functionality, categories again shared across everything, and hopefully without any of the sort of quirks or limitations that might have been used to before.
Not to mention the amazing SEO that you guys do as well.
Yeah, if you saw the last few town halls, we've shown that using Silktide as a site audit, we can get 100 out of 100 on it, any of the audit features.
Try that on the competitors' sites, everybody. Just grab their latest showcase site, pump it through a tool, and then compare it with Siteglide. You'll be suitably impressed, and your clients will love you.
Yeah, I mean, you've still got to code it properly, but the point is the platform doesn't hold you back at all. platformOS or Siteglide, we make sure that we only help with that. So we put all the meta tags in the UI to make it really simple, but obviously you still need to code it properly. If you use our design system, which I'll come on to, that makes it even easier. And there's good best practice in there to reduce load times and everything. Web apps, just trying to speed through a bit. Multi-select data source and drop-downs. It's one small thing that can be a big limitation on what you're trying to do, is sort of one-to-one, many-to-one relationships. That has enabled some of our partners to do some pretty powerful things that just couldn't be done on BC. And I'll show you a couple of those very quickly. And then things like front-end updates are just much easier. You can update layouts and the structure of a web app, and it just updates automatically, which is much, much easier. Finally, one of the biggest ones that relates to platformOS and makes Siteglide with platformOS unique or more very different compared to most SaaS products is the fact that you have total access to your data via the CLI. platformOS have made it so that you can access everything, as you guys know. We've not limited you in any way there. We've made sure that you have full access. We've also hooked up to Zapier so that you can integrate with the thousands of tools that they have already integrated with. I think that's a pretty unusual one. We hit limits quite quickly on BC in terms of trying to connect data to something else, especially when you had a limit with something like web apps or secure zones and you needed to go somewhere else. It then became quite difficult to work with some of that data. Right, last one. Just wanted to show a couple of things about sort of why we're a bit different, and we're not just quickly replicating BC as quickly as we can. We're trying to go far beyond that and look at what the best platform for a web agency can be, and making sure that we bring in our experience and use the latest technologies and get the most out of platformOS as well. So just flying through these a bit quickly. If you haven't heard of User First, it's probably best to watch my last town hall a couple of weeks ago on that I did a presentation on in Cancun. That hopefully will help you stand out quite a bit, or help agencies stand out from competitors, and having a really big selling point versus the sort of traditional website approach. One of the biggest parts of that we really are going to focus on and keep having at the core of everything is our design system and starter site. When you now create a site and install the starter site and go through to the tutorials, you'll start to see how relevant and how good that is for saving time, ensuring quality, and just creating solutions. You get Bootstrap 4 out of the box built in. You've got layouts that you can use that are editable in Visual Editor, and you can just customize on top. When you install a module, it comes with layouts and everything just works. So you're customizing best practice rather than starting from scratch or starting from a verbose template, for example. I do think the more we work on that, the more that's going to become something that is not easy to implement into another platform. Let's say it's what an integral part of the system and our vision. A huge one is the infrastructure itself. We, having worked with Adam and platformOS, building things like the UiPath project and knowing the other big names that they have on the platform, it's clearly built for enterprise, but works at every level, and that's something that we've just not seen before. So we've helped get the most out of that from a UI perspective, making it easier, but we've also then integrated with some extra tools and making sure that Stripe is fully integrated for e-commerce and things like subscriptions, and then other tools as well. And we'll just keep integrating with the best. Obviously, SendGrid, which platformOS had already done. Then that gives us one, like that leads on to probably the biggest USP there, is that it is a SaaS product, but you can build without the typical boundaries. You can have full access to platformOS via the CLI. Sure, most of you already know this by now, but I just wanted to highlight one of the main reasons to choose it. If over the last 18 months, there's been a lot of things to look at and a lot of different reasons, and maybe certain features you need right now mean you have to look at something, but I'm hopeful that that's something that is going to be hard to compete with quickly. And then finally,
just those wondering again what the CLI is, command line interface.
Sorry.
Think of it as a sophisticated version of FTP. FTP is dead. That's the reason why we didn't bother going down that path, and why Siteglide has now augmented that with their own CLI tools. It's how things get done on the web these days. So I know we like FTP. It has its purpose. It's simple, but it's not going to be the future. It's certainly not for people developing the future of the web. So anyway, command line interface.
And yeah, and an example of that is just then being able to get access to everything and pulling out data, maybe making some API endpoints yourself. Just we've been able to do some pretty big things with that. We've seen partners do integrations with I think NetSuite, QuickBooks, Stripe, all sorts of stuff because of that. So yeah, just to show you a few quick examples rather than look at slides for any longer. One project that we've demoed before, and Devon has actually, is his AHA parenting project. Just going to have a quick look at a feature that Wizzy have been helping him build. So that's a collaboration between two different partners. That's Devon in the States, building a partner site for a client in the States, and then Wizzy in the UK, using their sort of technical expertise to assist with Siteglide functionality. And when they need something on top, they can use the CLI and build it directly onto platformOS. The example here is a sort of very advanced search that I'm pretty sure is not possible with BC, or is quite fiddly. So just making you'd search for something, it'd bring up all the different articles, it'd show you some featured ones so they can easily be a featured article, but then you've got quite a few different filters. So you might filter that down multiple times by different categories and different types of content, and then obviously you can go into those articles, and you can also see that they're categorized to different things. So there's so much you can do, both with the features that we're building. We are enhancing our search, but then if you can't do that, you can get right under the hood and build exactly what you want to do. So there really isn't any limitation there as to what you'd like, what you need to be able to do. And one last one I'd like to show off is a site. I have shown it briefly before. So it's a shopping mall in the UK. They went through a whole design and rebuild onto platformOS on Siteglide, and they've actually got a nice sort of Christmas page running at the moment. This is very sort of web app heavy, lots of different types of web apps all connecting together. But one of the things that's unique about this and takes it beyond just websites is the sort of single page application that runs for their kiosks. So they have kiosks in the shopping center where you can sort of search on the map, you can see cinema listings, you can see the events they have on, but it's all very interactive on big touch screens. And these run locally in on terminal machines in the shopping center. They run offline because the internet isn't necessarily going to be on all the time. And they're obviously very, very interactive. This is just the web version of it, but it shows that it runs from Siteglide and platformOS, but it can run locally as well. And that's something that just opens up huge possibilities, really. So I think finally got that. Sorry, it was a bit longer than I planned, but hopefully there's a bit of an update of what we've done and what we're going to be working on next. Any questions?
The floor is yours, everybody. Thanks, Luke and Martin. That was brilliant from words from you too.
Sorry, Martin.
Excellent overview. Hey, you were on a roll, Luke. That was great. That's why there's no questions, because everyone's just like, yeah, show me, give me more. This is awesome. I love the single page application in the shopping center. I think that's awesome. It just allows agencies to move into a whole different type of client because, as we know, websites are dead. And
quite a few projects actually. Yeah, it's quite a few projects we hear of being built on Siteglide using React and all sorts of different tools that are just far more complex than we knew we could do on BC, and we'd have to have gone off to PHP and MySQL or something like that to achieve those kind of things. So.
Yep, we're supporting all the service worker stuff now, and there's some tutorials for single page applications, Angular, React, whatever flavor you like, but the Siteglide solution kicks butt, and especially with what the team have done in terms of allowing the Siteglide community to also tap into the back-end power of platformOS. It really is that hybrid approach that ensures you're not going to have lock-in. And I know that what the Siteglide team have been doing constantly is to get that feedback, look at what are the functionality that you need to help succeed for your clients, and they're building it. And so we're really, it's been a great collaboration with the Siteglide team to get that feedback and help us to focus in on what's happening at the coalface of the web. Now there's some questions. Ursh, you have a very specific question.
I do. Very exciting, Luke. I love the platform. As someone that's trying to get sites across, with the CRM and the marketing, I'm trying to make a decision right at the moment regarding whether to use the native CRM for a client or whether I should still use ActiveCampaign. What I'm really interested in is that some of that functionality like tagging and automations, and I'm not quite sure how far away that is.
It's a really good question. The answer, because of the flexibility and things like the CLI, is how much of it needs to be done or you'd like to be done in the UI and not done as custom development. Anything can be done right now as custom development, essentially. For the UI, things like custom field sets, I think thinking off the top of my head, would really help with some of that. And obviously with email marketing being there, we can sort of tap into that and link the two together. But I think that's something we should definitely add to the roadmap, and we can discuss the exact features with you and other partners, work out what can come in phase 1, what would be in phase 2, and put a date on it. And it'd be hard to say off the top of my head, but that's the kind of stuff I can't wait to get onto next, to be honest.
And we're right behind that too. Just to highlight Luke's point there, it's something that we're going to be working with them based on the feedback from partners such as yourself, Ursh. Reason is it's been something we've had on the back burner, hoping that a partner might just go and build the UI component on the top of what we've already integrated. And it's come to the point where we've got some of our larger enterprise clients who are like Intel and now using email marketing capabilities through platformOS. So we're modularizing some of that code. So that may help it'll help the Siteglide team take that, massage it into something that becomes part of and built in natively to the Siteglide SaaS product as well. We're definitely going to be right behind whatever Siteglide needs to do. So all your feedback would be great. Being able to do the dynamic tags in Liquid, pulling data from something and completely personalize an email blast that goes out to 1 million people, but personalized based on all their interactions with the site. Just brilliant stuff. You know, that's what you get out of very expensive packages with email marketing or automation. But that's all possible now if you have the CLI coding skills. But we want to make that easier, and Siteglide again.
I would say it might be easier for you to leave. If your client's already using ActiveCampaign, just leave it in there. We've done, Siteglide did API work to ActiveCampaign, as you know, before we moved, before end of life. And you can use CSV import. So if later we do add tagging and all of that sort of thing, you can just move it all over afterwards. So I would suggest for deadlines and projects, if you've got somebody using it, just keep using it and we'll integrate it. We'll move the...
right at the point of working out whether to set up an ActiveCampaign account for them or to use what site. I just can't work it out. But anyway, I'll talk to you privately about that.
Sure.
Well, yeah, let's also get it into the roadmap, and we can. I think what we need now is a melting pot of all the ideas, people voting on it, and then being able to sort of commit to that for early next year and get a feel for what's coming, because we want to be able to give some better assurances or better idea of what's coming when, and we can only do that if we know what people are looking for. That's a really good one. Yeah, I think if it's an immediate decision, then it might be best in some cases to use something that already exists, and then we'll look at how to make it easier to potentially bring it back in.
Yeah, I mean, we're on the final stretch of BC functionality now. So the next quarter or so is going to be a big one for getting all of that. We're in the final stretch. We can see the finish line. And then after that, we've got all sorts of stuff like this, all the API work, connectivity, all the additional features that we might want to add. I think my internet might have gone, but never mind. So yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions coming on to the top of the hour? While you're thinking of your question, I just want to highlight something else that Siteglide also now supports. I'll share my screen. You might be able to see this. I'm just in Wapalizer, and you'll notice platform as a service is platformOS. It's on Google Cloud, which means Siteglide is fully multi-cloud now as well. We have been working with the Google team. They've been really, really good, actually. I've been surprised at how great the Google team have been. And we now can deploy. It's not in production through the partner portal, so it won't be immediately available through Siteglide, but very soon in the new year, it's going to be switched on so that any of the partners working with Siteglide will be able to choose Google Cloud and all the regions that are supported, as well as AWS, and then Azure not far behind, which is, again, important for Siteglide to be able to be multi-cloud and not be vendor locked in with the infrastructure as a service, because we all know that, once you've built all your APIs, so we've wrapped APIs around AWS, around Google Cloud, Azure. If all we did was just supported AWS and suddenly they jacked up their prices, or they had outages, or maybe there was just a problem, they weren't supporting certain new technologies, we would be hamstrung, and we don't want that. And so I can say that Siteglide is multi-cloud support now. Congrats, Luke, good job.
Yeah, great. Yeah, awesome work. Thank you. Yeah, just seen in the chat actually that Devon's put in a comment about ActiveCampaign and probably recommending going with that just for now. He's using it with lots of clients. Also that, yeah, you moved your hardest BC sites first. I did make it a bit of a challenge, but it was really, really good to go through some of that much earlier in the year, first part of the year really, which helped us really make sure that web apps are incredibly powerful. I think one of your favorite features is the multi-select data source as well, actually. So yeah, thanks. It's been great working with you on those, and thanks for the feedback.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions, we will wrap it up. Thanks again, Luke and Martin, for taking us through this update. And we're really excited for next year. Everybody watching the video, please pass on that feedback to the Siteglide team. They work directly, without any encumbrances, directly with our engineering team. So it's like a very tight partnership. And so you can be assured that your feedback won't go unread or unknown, and that the team are going to do their best to advocate for you and make sure that they knock on our door, or my door in particular, if they need a little prod in certain directions. Right, Luke?
Yeah, occasionally. But thank you as always for working with us. And yeah, it is a great partnership there in terms of being able to talk about features, work through things. We've got a feature that we want to do, and you guys help us get there. So no, it's really good.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, thanks everyone. Great to see you all, and looking forward to our final town hall in 2 weeks before Christmas. If you don't make that one, have a great Christmas and New Year celebration. Have a safe one. And we look forward to a great end to the year and a massive relaunch in the new year. So we're just getting started. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Siteglide team. All the guys behind the scenes that do all the coding work, by the way. Great stuff.
Yeah, huge thanks to the team as well. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.